me today. Before we start, if you can go ahead and subscribe and like this video, that would be really amazing. I know it's been a while. I have been trying to upload some videos, but it's just so hard figuring out having a newborn and a toddler and juggling household stuff while my husband started work yesterday also, so it's kind of been a bit overwhelming at the moment. But today he's doing afternoon shifts now, so it's really good that I can get a little bit of filming done when he's here. So I have like an hour before I had to breastfeed again. So I'm going to talk about my birth story here. Now, if you guys haven't seen already, I have 2 more videos related to the childbirth with my daughter. One is a few days leading up to the day that we had her, or the day before we had her, and then also our birth vlog. So all details, like information are more in detail in those videos, and this is just me summarizing the whole event and telling you guys my thoughts, how I felt and things like that, because I didn't really get to talk about those at that time. It was a bit chaotic. So I had my little Capri on her due date, which was the 23rd of November. Today she is 2 weeks and 1 day old. I can't believe that it's already been 2 weeks. It's amazing and it's a lot at the same time, but I think I am managing well, which is really good. Anyway, so days leading up to her due date was a bit crazy because I've been contracting for a few days and I thought I was going into labor, but it was just like really prolonged pre-labor, and it was very hard and I was exhausted, and it was a difficult time. You don't want to be having all these contractions, even if they're not severe. You don't want to be having them for days, because it makes you tired and really like put you in a position where you are not sure about anything that's happening. So for those of you who don't know, I was trying a Vbac, trying for a Vbac, but they called it also a TOLAC, TOLAC, which is a trial of labor after cesarean. And after you've given birth vaginally, they call it a Vbac, which is vaginal birth after cesarean. So basically my case was a TOLAC, and I was trying to see if I can do a vaginal delivery, because my first one ended up in a cesarean due to not progressing. So this time I couldn't be induced or anything, so we were waiting to see if I would go into spontaneous labor, which I did. The day before, which was the 22nd, I vlogged this bit also. At around 9:30 in the morning, my contractions really like picked up, and I was having, I think I was just done with my breakfast. My hubby and son were both there, and I was in pain, and I told Hasa, like, okay, I think something's happening, and I kind of waited. I was trying to because the contractions were kind of like 10 minutes apart, so I was trying to like walk and do all these things to see if it would pick up and be really like close together. And it did. It came down to like 5 minutes apart and then 4 minutes apart, and then I was really tired, so I went upstairs and I was laying in bed on my left side. And at this point I was almost 40 weeks, and I was heavily pregnant and out of breath. Like, I was very uncomfortable, because with my son I was induced at 38 weeks, so I never had those 2 last weeks of pregnancy, and those 2 weeks are really like major. So yeah, so I went and laid down, and the contractions kind of died down after that. So I was a little disappointed, but at the same time I was like, you know what, it's okay. Tomorrow's her due date, maybe she'll come tomorrow. Anyway, the day goes by, and I you know, do things here and there and whatever. And around 6:30 we usually have our like between 6 and 6:30 we usually have like a cup of tea, and then after that we do the bedtime routine for Casper, who is my 2.5-year-old. He turned 2.5 years old yesterday. So yeah, anyway, and then I was downstairs and I was having tea and I started feeling like major contractions, and this was much stronger than the morning ones. So I was kind of like, okay, you know what, I think it's happening at this point, and we should just, you know, get ready. And contractions were regularly like 5 minutes apart for like more than an hour, I think. I don't remember the exact details. If you want to hear all the exact details, go back to my other videos and have a look, because I'm kind of losing memory already. It's been 2 weeks. There's so much else going on. So yeah, and then we did the whole bedtime routine for Casper, put him to bed, and then my mom was either here or I told her. No, she was here with us throughout the whole day. But then she went home. So I think I called her, and yeah, I think I called her and told her we might have to go to the hospital. Tonight might be the night. So if she could come later on when I call her to stay with Casper so we can go to the hospital. And so it was a couple of hours later, and contractions were definitely getting closer together. I think they were like 5 minutes, 4 minutes apart for that whole time. But the concern was the baby was not moving at all, and she hadn't moved for like 3 hours, and I was really concerned, because they say until you stop pushing, or yeah, until you stop pushing, your baby should move. And so I called the midwives at the birthing suite, and I told them I've been contracting and my due date's tomorrow. But the baby is really like hasn't moved for a few hours, and they were like, okay, you know, you should just come in because you're a Vbac. We need to monitor everything really closely. So my OB has advised them previously what the situation was, what the plan was, and to keep a close eye on my early labor, which is also called latent period, I think. And because if there was any risk to having a uterine rupture or any other issues for a Vbac, it happens mostly in the early labor, because it can be really prolonged and you know, exhausting and all that stuff. So me and hubby got ready and went in, and then they hooked me up to the CTG scan, and we were monitoring for like an hour. Baby was really slow at first, and then they told me to drink 2 bottles of really cold water. Apparently it's supposed to help, like it's supposed to kind of awake the baby, and then they'll start moving. I think at that time she was literally just like sleeping, because she did tend to do that when I was pregnant. Like she would move a lot for a good part of the day, and then she'd be really quiet for like few hours, and then she'd start moving again. So yeah, but then I had completely forgotten if that was the time she was supposed to be moving. I think that was the time she was supposed to be moving, so it was really concerning. And so I was chugging extremely cold water. I hate cold water, I hate cold anything. Yeah, I was chugging water and I was freezing. It was very uncomfortable. I was shaking, and they put blankets on me, whatever. And baby started moving, so I was given this kind of like a buzzer, like a little clicky thing to press when like a button to press when she was moving, so they can monitor the CGT results and kind of align that with when I felt the baby move, so it would, you know, align with the heart rate and my uterine activity. So everything was fine, and then the midwives kept coming, and then having a look at the monitor, and then seeing that everything was okay. So they had an on-call doctor that day. My doctor wasn't there that day because it was a Sunday night, and the on-call doctor said that, you know, should we induce her, and I said, my OB said that she's not going to induce me, she's just gonna wait it out and see how things go, and blah blah blah. Long story short, they gave us the option to either be admitted, but it would be much comfortable to go home and labor throughout the night, which obviously I said, I'll just go home. I would rather be in my own bed under my own blanket rather than being in a cold hospital bed. I really don't like hospitals, and you know, nobody wants to be in a hospital, you know. So we came back home, and it was like around midnight, and tried to go to sleep. I couldn't. Contractions were really, really bad and painful. It was a really rough few hours. So around 5 in the morning, I've had it, and I woke up because I was like, I'm hungry, I need some tea or something. And he made me a cup of tea, and he said he told his work that he's not going to make it that day. He's just gonna take the day off, just in case. And I knew for sure that she would definitely come on her due date. This was the Monday morning now. My mom stayed the night with us that day, and her and Hassa got Casper ready to drop him to daycare, so my mom could pick him up later on, just in case if we were in the hospital, and then take him to their place. So that's what happened. And then it was around like 8 in the morning, I think. I was sitting on the sofa contracting, and it was really, really, really painful contractions, and I honestly thought I was like at least 6 centimeters dilated by this point, because the contractions were super severe. And then when I was in the hospital the night before, the midwife was looking at the CGT scan and was saying that the contractions were like going for like a minute to a minute and a half, and they were really, really strong. And those are the kind of contractions that women get, you know, when they're in active labor. And I wasn't in active labor. They did an internal, and I wasn't dilated at all. Like, I was dilated a fingertip. My cervix was still bent so far back, and she tried to pull it forward, but it was very painful, so they stopped doing all of that. And then so this morning, I was sitting down, and then my husband and my mom and Casper, like, you know, we said goodbye and blah blah blah, and then they literally like took the car out of the driveway, from the garage into the road, and I got up to go to the bathroom. I got up, I felt something kind of wet when I got up, and then I looked, and there was blood everywhere on the couch, and I was like, oh my god, like, what is happening? I was freaking the hell out, because it was like I just had my period, and I sat there for like an hour. But that wasn't the case. I was sitting there for probably like 15 minutes. And then I went to the toilet. My underwear was soaked in blood, and I was freaking out. Quickly came out, quickly called my husband, and I said, okay, you need to like rush. We need to get to the hospital. I'm bleeding all over the place. And crazy me was trying to clean the couch without calling the hospital. And then I texted my husband, I can't get the blood off the couch. It was my OCD kicking in. I'm like, if it absorbs, it's never going to be cleaned, and blah blah blah. Anyway, like, the last thing I should worry about. Anyway, so called the hospital again, and they were like, okay, you need to urgently come in. And so hubby got back, went to the hospital, and they checked everything. They were like, okay, you know what, it's just what do you call that, it's bloody show, nothing to worry about. It's not like any other like crazy bleeding. It's not uterine rupture, because for uterine rupture you would have some bleeding also, but it's not that. So they were like, no, don't worry about it, you know, you're fine. Hooked me up to the monitor again, and they were like, you know, we'll give it like 30 minutes to an hour on the monitor to see how things are going, and then we'll do an internal. So at this time, it was about 8:30, 8:45, or close to 9 in the morning on my due date, which was the 23rd of November. Anyway, and then was hooked up to the monitor. We were just waiting. Contractions were crazy, okay? It was really crazy. I felt like I had to poop. I tried to go to the toilet several times. Nothing was happening. I'm telling you, these contractions were, it takes over your whole body, right? And you're like kind of in this out of your body element. It's ridiculously painful, okay? I have high pain tolerance, and this was no joke. But they were asking at the time, like, what are your options? Are you thinking of getting medication, epidural, what's going on? And I did say that I do horrible with morphine, so I don't want morphine. I'll do gas and air, but definitely no front epidural at this point, because even though they were super painful, I think with breathing and thinking positive, I could get through them. They were really bad though. So I said, let's not completely rule out the epidural. We'll keep it in the back of our mind, but you know, I don't want anyone coming to me and recommending it to me like every hour, because that would just put me, you know, that would make me weak and then want to get it even though I don't want to. So they were like, completely understandable, you know, it's fine, it's all up to you. We'll see how things go. Anyway, so my doctor also came in and she said, I'm gonna do an internal and see where things are going. And she looked at the monitor. She was like, you know, baby's heart rate is a little slow, so we're gonna have to monitor you very closely. Did an internal. It was very painful, and she said it shouldn't hurt this much if you're actually dilated, but you are not dilated. Your cervix is really thick and everything's tightly closed. So I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the same thing is happening all over again. But I blamed the induction last time because it was 38 weeks. It was a bit early, baby wasn't ready, I was induced, and I had diabetes and I was stressed out and blah blah, right? This time it was nothing. It was, I went into spontaneous labor and I am supposed to be dilating, and baby is like 40 weeks and all of the right signs, but nothing was happening. Very disappointing. But then the doctor was like, you know what, we'll try, we'll keep trying, give it your best shot, you know. And then the midwife said, we'll give you a birthing ball, just walk around, don't just lay in bed, but balance it. So take a rest, do the birthing ball, walk around a bit, and then take a rest again, you know, drink lots of water, and keep yourself hydrated and everything. And if you are able to, eat a little bit as well. So they transferred us to a room to labor, and because we were in the birthing suite. So we were in the room, I was on the birthing ball, contracting really badly, and it was, oh my god, it was crazy, right? Few hours go by, and then I think a couple of hours went by, and then they brought us back down to the birthing suite. And I think it was like around midday at this time, and I had already had lunch. So yeah, it was around 12:30 that they served lunch. So I had lunch, and then around, I think 1:30, 2 o'clock, they brought us back down to do a check again. So back in the birthing suite, hooked me up to the CGT again, and then they gave me another 30 minutes to see how the heart rate's going and everything. Baby was moving this whole time, so there was no issue. And then they did say, your contractions are really strong, like those kind of contractions you get, like the ones that take over your whole body, you get those in active labor, but you're not in active labor, so it's really concerning. There were some video clips that I didn't include in the birth vlog because there was like 3 midwives in the room, or two or three midwives in the room, and my OB. They were all talking among themselves and then explaining to me what was going on, and I didn't include those because, you know, they're medical professionals. I don't know if they want to be on a YouTube video, so I'll tell you a little bit what they were talking about. So basically they were looking at the monitor and then looking at how strong my contractions were, and they did an internal and I was not dilated at all, but my cervix was a little bit forward. But then the doctor estimated that it would be like another 12 hours, and because I was a VBAC, it was absolutely a no-no, right? So then they were explaining how the baby's heart rate was going really low at every contraction, and one time it went down to like 70 beats per minute, and I think that's like ridiculously low. And everybody was really concerned. And after this whole thing, because the stronger my contraction was, the lower the baby's heart rate was, and they were just like, you know what, it's not looking good. And OB said all of that, and then she said, you know what, I'm gonna give you another little bit, like another 15 to 20 minutes, and then see where things are, but it's, you know, not looking good so far. She left, and then the midwives came in a little bit later, and they were like, you know what, we were looking at the monitor because they can see the monitor from their office as well, and then they were just like, they quickly ran in basically, and this was at like 2:30, like close to 3 o'clock, and they quickly ran in, and they were just like, it was two midwives, and it was like, they were like, oh, you know what, I think we're looking at, like, it's not looking good, we don't want to scare you, but the baby seems to be really distressed. And I was just like, oh my god, you know, like, I can't believe this is happening. I don't want to be like, I don't want to feel guilty if something happens to her, that I wanted to try a VBAC for my own peace of mind, but then like, if I didn't think of her and putting her in danger. And I was like, you know what, I'm ready for anything, it's fine. And then like tears were rolling down my eyes, even though like I was disappointed, but at the same time I was like, no, I want her, like, I want her in my arms regardless of how she comes into the world. It doesn't matter. And I was panicking, and Hassa was like, calm down, it's fine, you know, if a cesarean is the option, we have to do the cesarean. And it was just like, okay, well, you know, our doctor has been, they called the doctor, and then she's on her way. And the doctor came, she was like, yeah, you know what, we had to wheel you into the theater, it's gonna be an emergency cesarean. And I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe that like this everything just flipped upside down, right? My first cesarean wasn't an emergency cesarean, so it wasn't panicky as this one. And this one was very like quick and sudden decisions, and quickly see if the theater is ready, you know, get her in, put her gown on, and shave her belly area, and blah blah blah. They gave an outfit for Hassa, and then like, quickly put your outfit on. Like, it was like in such a rush. So I managed to film like a 30-second clip of telling you they're gonna wheel me into the theater soon. That's all I could get in that time, and it was a very rushed decision, right? So as soon as the theater was ready, they took me in, and I was contracting still this whole time. And then the anesthesiologist, he came in beforehand and talked to me and all that stuff, and then he put the spinal block in. And even after I was laid down after the spinal block, I could still feel the very last contraction, and it was it was crazy. And everyone was like, this is crazy, like, you know, we can't believe that you're still feeling it. And then the spinal block hasn't been administered properly, so they were like tilting me back on the bed and tilting me forward and sideways to make sure that it goes everywhere. They tilted me back for too long. The spinal block went all the way up, and I couldn't even feel my boobs. And later on I had trouble breathing because I couldn't take strong breaths, because I didn't know if I was taking strong breaths. I was paralyzed from down here, right? I was numb from all the way from here to all the way to my toes, right? So it was really like, it was way too strong, and it was crazy, but it was fine. And you know, the cesarean started, and then yeah, blah blah blah. doctor was about to take the baby out, and she was like, oh, you know, there's meconium. Meconium is like the baby had pooped, and usually that happens when they are really distressed inside you. And before the doctor said that we will do the cesarean, she said, you might, this is what hit me really hard, she said, you might want to try a little longer, but the baby will give up before you give up, so I don't want that to happen. And that's what really scared me, and that's when I was like, let's just get it done, you know. And then I was crying, but it was fine. But that's what really hit me. So I'm really glad that my doctor said that to me, because, you know, I was really like, my brain was kind of cloudy at that point, and Hassa was trying to make me feel better, like, you know what, you gave it your best shot, you know, you went into spontaneous labor, you're not any less of a mother, and all these positive things. And it was really helpful. So anyway, so the baby had meconium in fluid, and she was all covered green when she came out. The doctor immediately yelled out, oh, she has flipped. So she was sunny side up, her back was towards my back, and that's why I wasn't dilating and she wasn't coming out, and she was distressed. And then she was taken out, absolutely beautiful, healthy little baby girl, and they took her to the little corner and then put her on her little bed, was cleaning her up and everything. And they said that she hasn't aspirated, because they made the quick decision to take her out, so she must have just done the poo, and it was just in the fluid around her body. They cleaned her well and everything, wrapped her all up like a little bundle, and then gave her to me and Hassa. And oh my god, I instantly fell in love. Just like, it all reminded me of how I had my son, and it was very emotional. There it was, this little beautiful, she was pink. She's super fair, she is so pink, and I was like, you're like a little flower, like so delicate, so cute. And anyway, it was, oh my gosh, the emotions were like flying everywhere. I was so happy, totally forgot about the whole thing, and I was like, oh, I have her finally in my arms. And it was completely different this time, because when I had Casper, due to medical issues, they had to take him to the NICU straight away, and I was really upset at that time. But this time there was no issues, she was perfectly healthy, and I had her, you know. At that moment I was like, I have you now, that like nothing else matters, I have you, you know. And it was just beautiful. And then I was holding her and like still laying down, and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna throw up, I feel really dizzy, I just feel like off, right? And then Hassa quickly took her, and the doctor was like, the anesthesiologist was like, no, take deep breaths. I'm like, I'm trying, like it's not happening and all that stuff. And then he was putting this frozen little block all over, and was like, okay, the spinal block has gone up too far high. And then he gave me something to calm down the throw up feeling, and they were just like getting me to do deep breaths and blah blah blah. And my oxygen stat was going down, because I couldn't feel if I was breathing or not, right? And I was kind of like blacking out, and it was really crazy. I was numb up to here, like what the heck, you're not supposed to be numb up to here, you know. I couldn't feel my boobs. The first time I breastfed, I couldn't feel what I was doing. It was ridiculous. And yeah, then what happened, they put oxygen on me, because my oxygen stats were going really low. And so I was on oxygen, and I closed my eyes, everything was kind of dark and black, and at this point I was kind of like out of it, you know. And then they were doing everything they could to kind of like revive me and make me feel better. And I heard the doctor saying, you're fine, just breathe, like take the oxygen in and all that stuff. And I was like, I'm not fine, you know. First of all, do not tell me I'm fine. And yeah, anyway, my OB closed me back up and said that there was about 300 or 400 mils of blood loss, which is completely normal and everything's fine. She said that she removed the old scar and kind of gave me a pretty new scar. So I was like, okay, thank you for that. And yeah, so after this was in recovery, so I was wheeled into the recovery and had baby girl on me the whole time, which was fantastic. And we breastfed her immediately after, and I breastfed her immediately after, and she latched on perfectly. And yeah, it was like this great moment. And after that, after the recovery, we were transferred to our room, and Hasa stayed the night. My family visited, and it was fantastic. It was a little rough because, you know, I couldn't really like move at all my legs, so because I was really numb, but I was able to eat and was okay for the most part. And then I was breastfeeding the whole time, so it was great. I had colostrum already, and the midwives say, you know, on like the 3rd or 4th day your milk will come. And last time I couldn't breastfeed because my milk took a long time to come in, and there was numerous other issues, and there was no supply, and it was crazy. But this time my milk came in 3 days later, and I was really engorged and full, and milk were leaking and everything, so it was really good, you know. And baby was breastfeeding and all that stuff. Other things happened after that, which I'm gonna have to do another video because this video is already really long. But what they did was that night they kept checking me and everything, and the baby, because baby had meconium, they have to do obs like at a certain time for I think 3 days or so after she's born, to make sure that her breathing's fine and everything's fine. And then they also did the same for me. And midwives that night, on the 23rd night, they said that tomorrow morning around 5 a.m. the shift changes, and then or like it's a couple of hours before the shift change, so the midwife who looked after me will come and help me have a shower and get me out of the bed and all that stuff. So throughout the night they came and checked if my numbing was going away. It did go away, and it was fine. So the next day early morning I was able to even get out of the bed. It was painful, and I was on a couple of medications. I was on endone as needed. Every 4 hours I was able to take it, and another one called Targin, I think, which is a long-acting pain medication, which is like a really like high up there pain med, and that one was freaking good. You couldn't feel anything, any pain after you take that one, and it lasts for like 12 hours I think, so which was great. But they only gave that to me like the first 3 days, so whatever. That was great, that medication. I really loved that one. So got up, had a shower, they removed the catheter, and yeah, I was able to wee that day a couple of times, and then they took out my IV, and everything was going well. I was breastfeeding and all that stuff, but other things happened after that, which I will cover in another video on how I dealt with the newborn and everything, and how my second time experience was. But guys, that is the birth story, and it was another traumatic experience, but the only difference is that this time I kind of expected it. Last time I had no expectations of having a cesarean ever, and this time I knew it was in the back of the mind, and it was, you know, it was a possibility. If I was able to have a vaginal birth, perfect. My recovery has been so much quicker this time, and I'm so glad, you know, I'm so happy for it. Although I do have a lot of muscle separation. They said it was, the physio said it was like this big, like 8-finger width, which is very extreme to have that much muscle separation. So I do have a bit of coning in my belly, and my belly is really like loose, the skin's very loose, and so it's a lot of work that I need to do to improve my core, but that all comes later. I will be going to a 6-week appointment, and I do have a mental health appointment at 6 weeks also, because you know I have anxiety and depression, and last time I got postpartum depression, so this time they are completely like monitoring everything to make sure that everything's okay with me. At the moment I do get the baby blues here and there, you know, a random crying and being emotional and all that stuff, but I think for the most part I'm doing okay. I'm just trying to get back to filming and kind of normalizing a routine. It's a lot having a toddler and a newborn, but I think me and hubby work as a team and you know are getting through it together. My mom has been amazing. Oh my god, my mom and dad, they help out so much, you know. Without them I don't think we could have been able to get through this pregnancy and you know this childbirth and everything. They looked after Casper, she provides food for us, and you know it's really wonderful to have my parents close by, and their help is like amazing, and I really appreciate them for that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys liked my birth story. Leave your comments down below, your opinions and everything, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.